Breaking news. Harvard linguists stunned by Filipino English announce groundbreaking study. The headline flashed across screens, making even the most seasoned academics pause. In Harvard's halls, where language is science, a new curiosity was born. Dr. Alistair Rhodes, a lifelong explorer of language, received a report on Filipino English. It described a version of English full of quirks and warmth, technically imperfect, yet powerfully connective. The data hinted at something numbers couldn't explain. A spark, a human element. For Dr. Rhodes, this paradox was irresistible. He gathered his skeptical team, far from their comfort zone of sterile labs. "We're not looking for what's wrong," he told them. "We're looking for what's right." The decision was made. They would travel to the Philippines. Some colleagues scoffed, others whispered he was chasing ghosts. Dr. Rhodes didn't care. He packed notebooks, not equipment. He was ready to be a student again. The headline was just the beginning. The real story was about to unfold. Sometimes, the greatest discoveries begin with a single unexpected question. What if the world's imperfect English was actually its most human? Dr. Rhodes was about to find out. The ivory tower was about to be shaken, and the world would soon listen. The flight to Manila was more than a change in geography. It was a leap across a philosophical divide. Dr. Rhodes stared out the window, reflecting on a lifetime of red ink and rigid rules. Filipino English promised something different, connection over correction. From Manila, the journey continued. Planes, buses, and finally, a small provincial town. The air was thick, the streets alive with color and sound. Dr. Rhodes watched children play, vendors call out, life unfolding in vibrant chaos. This was no academic lab, this was language in motion. The school was humble, its walls worn but alive with energy. He was greeted by the principal, led through buzzing corridors, past hand-drawn posters, and teachers leaning in close. Here learning was raw and earnest. Dr. Rhodes felt a rare humility. He was an outsider, a guest. He was about to meet teacher Marites, whose classroom would soon change everything. The journey was over. The discovery was about to begin. Sometimes, the heart of language beats loudest in the quietest places. Dr. Rhodes was ready to listen. The world he knew was about to be rewritten, and it all started here. The classroom was small, but it felt limitless. The walls displayed students' artwork and handwritten English words, evidence of learning alive and personal. Teacher Marite stood at the center, her presence gentle but magnetic. She was not an authority, but a guide. Children gathered around her, drawn by her warmth. Dr. Rhodes sat at the back, notebook ready, but soon set it aside. This was no laboratory, it was a sanctuary. The room buzzed with English and Tagalog, mistakes and laughter mingling freely. There was no fear of error, only the joy of trying. Teacher Marites moved among her students, encouraging, listening, and gently guiding. "What a beautiful story, tell me more," she'd say, validating before correcting. Only after a child felt heard did she offer a gentle suggestion. It was a dance of validation and guidance. Dr. Rhodes watched, realizing this was not in any textbook. Here, love and empathy were the lesson plan. Teacher Marites was building confidence, not just vocabulary. She was nurturing souls, not just grammar. In this space, language was a bridge, not a barrier. Sometimes the best teaching is invisible, felt, not seen. Dr. Rhodes was witnessing a masterclass in humanity, and he was forever changed. The lesson was simple: share something that makes you happy. Paulo stood up nervous. "My doggy, he has run fast. Yesterday we play, he is happy dog." The grammar was off, but the joy was clear. Teacher Marites beamed. "A happy dog, thank you for sharing." Next, Anna spoke. "We make the food for my Lolo. He is sick, but he smiles when I give him the soup." Teacher Marites placed a hand over her heart. "That is the most wonderful thing I have heard today." The goal wasn't perfect English, but brave communicators. The classroom was filled with broken English, but it was whole in purpose. Sometimes the most beautiful English is the most human. I realized I was unlearning as much as I was learning. I'd believed clarity came from precision, but here, it came from empathy. The teacher's nod, the patient silence, the shared laughter, these were the real lessons. Back home, students feared mistakes. Here, they played with language, fearless and free. Teacher Marites' genius was simple: build confidence first, then guide improvement, celebrate the attempt before correcting the error. This approach protected the learner's spirit and desire to connect. The data wasn't in grammar charts, It was in smiles and whispered encouragements. The soul of communication is not about being flawless, but about being fearless. It's not about perfection, but about connection. The greatest teachers create compassionate, confident human beings. In this classroom, I found the heart of language, and I knew I would never teach or learn the same way again. Sometimes the best lesson is the one that changes you. And sometimes, the soul of communication is a child's brave, imperfect sentence. That is where true learning lives, and that is what I took home. Dr. Rhodes returned to Harvard transformed. His report, The Heart of the Matter, blended analysis with stories. Paolo's dog, Anna's soup, and teacher Maritesa's fearless classroom. He argued that obsession with perfection was costing us the soul of learning. The report went viral, sparking a global conversation. Headlines celebrated the Filipino approach. Harvard discovers the secret to learning in a small Filipino classroom. For Filipinos, it was a moment of pride. Their English, once mocked, was now celebrated for its heart. Phone calls crossed oceans. Grandparents told grandchildren, "The way we talk is special." Educators worldwide took notice. Invitations poured in for teacher Maritz to share her methods. The world wanted to learn how to build confidence and teach with love. A quiet revolution had begun, led by a humble teacher with a smile that never faded. Sometimes, the smallest classroom can change the world, and sometimes the world's wise enough to listen. The story was no longer just about language, it was about the power of empathy, and the world was ready for change. Months later, Dr. Rhodes and teacher Marites met on a video call. He sat in his book-lined office, she in her colorful classroom. The connection was fuzzy, but the warmth was real. "What I do is simple," Marites said. "We just care for the children." Dr. Rhodes smiled. "What you call simple is profound. We build systems, but forget to build doors. You start with the door, open, welcoming." Marites shared a childhood memory. A teacher's harsh words silenced her for a year. "A child's spirit is a tiny flame. My job is to protect it." Dr. Rhodes was moved. Her metaphor captured everything he'd learned. He told her about schools adopting empathy-first programs, teachers putting away red pens, and the ripple effect of her story. "You've started something, Marites. You've reminded us that teaching is not a science, it's an act of love." Marites listened, humbled but proud. Two worlds, one lesson. Protect the flame. The conversation bridged continents, but more importantly, it bridged hearts. The revolution was quiet, but unstoppable, and it began with a teacher who cared. Sometimes the greatest wisdom is the simplest. Sometimes the bravest act is kindness, and sometimes the world's best teacher is found in the most unexpected place. The story was no longer just theirs. It belonged to everyone who believes in the power of love to teach, and that was enough. The story of Dr. Rhodes and teacher Marites sparked real change. Schools worldwide began to ask, how can we create safer, more supportive classrooms? Empathy became the foundation, not just a soft skill. Workshops focused on human connection, not technology. Teachers practiced listening, responding to emotions before correcting mistakes. Feedback began with encouragement, not criticism. The shift was small, but revolutionary. Students became braver, more creative, less afraid of failure. Classrooms turned into places of collaboration, not competition. As students' well-being improved, so did their performance. Dr. Rhodes watched the ripple effect with awe. His search for linguistic mechanics led him to the heart of education. The most powerful curriculum was written on the heart, not the page. And the greatest teaching tool was empathy. Today, the story of the Harvard linguist and the Filipino teacher is a modern parable. It reminds us that at the center of every lesson is a human heart. The greatest lesson from that small school wasn't about English, it was about kindness. Dr. Rhodes now teaches less about syntax, more about soul. He tells his students the most important language is kindness. Teacher Marites still kneels beside her students, celebrating their brave, imperfect sentences. Her greatest impact is in daily acts of love and encouragement. The story ends where it began, with a simple truth. Education is not about filling a bucket, but lighting a fire. The most advanced theories are no match for a caring teacher. The greatest lesson is that love is the best pedagogy. It is the beginning, the middle, and the end of all true learning. It is the language we all understand.